Thank you for taking 10 minutes out of your Thursday to watch CNN Student News. I'm Carl Azus at the CNN Center. Our first story centers on a state of emergency in the East African nation of Ethiopia. This is one of the poorest countries on the planet. More than 29% of Ethiopia's people are estimated to live below the poverty line. The nation's economy has grown rapidly in recent years, but that's coincided with a rise in ethnic tension. Why? Well, the country has a diverse combination of ethnic groups. The largest, the Oromo ethnic group, makes up about a third of Ethiopia's population. Another, the Amaras, make up 27%. The Tigrays make up just over 6%. But the smaller Tigray ethnic group reportedly dominates the government. And that's one reason why some other groups are protesting. The government declared a state of emergency recently in response to the loss of lives and property in the protest, but signs of instability remain.
The Ethiopian government in Addis Ababa introduced a state of emergency in the country because of growing concerns about security following several protests. This is the first time a state of emergency has been declared in Ethiopia in the last 25 years. The death of at least 52 people in a religious festival has led to increased ethnic tensions within the country. The activists claim that at least 500 people were killed, but the government denies this. This comes after one of Ethiopia's largest ethnic groups has been fiercely protesting against the government. The Oromos make up over a third of the country's 100 million population, and yet none of Ethiopia's past or current leadership has come from the Oromo region. Protests started in April 2014 when the government announced plans to expand the capital Addis Ababa into Oromo territory. Although the government abandoned these plans, the protests have snowballed. At the 2016 Olympics, the Ethiopian runner Feyisa Lilesa crossed the finishing line with his hands raised and his wrists touching as if they were handcuffed. This has become a powerful protest about the treatment of the Oromo people by the government. The government of Ethiopia, in trying to stop the Oromos from protesting too much, are forgetting that the Amaras and the Tigrays also want a slice of power. It's very difficult for a government that's been used for the last 25 years to know opposition within parliament to actually face up the fact that this may actually be splintering into a serious ethnic fight within Ethiopia.
In northern Iraq, a battle is looming. Iraqi troops with the support of U.S. forces are planning an attempt to retake the city of Mosul from the ISIS terrorist group. Mosul is the second largest city in Iraq. ISIS took control of it in 2014. Officials believe the terrorists are planting mines and explosives around the city to complicate the fight. The lasting damage that ISIS has left in towns near Mosul could be a sign of what's to come.
A lake of fire, thick black clouds obscuring the sun in the town of El Gayana, south of Mosul.
ISIS set this oil well on fire months ago. The purpose was to obscure the view of aircraft overhead, but ISIS is now gone and this fire continues to burn right on the edge of a town in which many people are now living.
And in its shadow lives Khalil, who takes us to his house somewhere in the midday darkness. The smoke is stained 2-year-old Arbeida and his sisters. Khalil and his wife cover the children with a sheet at night, scant protection from the toxic fumes. That well is really hurting us, Khalil says. The wind has changed direction and now it's all blowing on us. He says they have nowhere else to go. We could barely stay with them for 10 minutes. Engineer Hussein Salem and his team are trying to put out the dozens of fires, but it's a time-consuming process. It took 30 days to put out one fire, he says. In the main street, some shops have reopened. Also here, the smoke hangs heavily on residents. It's another ISIS, says Shala, and it's cancer.
kehancuran,
Daesh, as they call
dan
ISIS
penyakit
here,
kesehatan
left
dunia.
behind a poisonous legacy of
Organisasi
death,
bagian dari
destruction,
kesekian Malaysia Bangsa meminta
disease.
pemerintah di seluruh dunia untuk menempatkan
The World Health
pajak baru pada
Organization,
soda
part of the
yang
United
minimum of
Nations, is
karakter.
asking governments
Harga
worldwide to
meningkat
put a new
setidaknya
tax
20%.
on
Para
sodas.
pakar
But
kesehatan
once soft
membicarakan
drink
biaya
prices
seperti yang
increased by at least
ditemukan dalam banyak
20%.
minuman
Public
ringan
health
adalah
experts say
sebagian besar
sugar, like what's
harus
found in many
disalahkan
soft
untuk
drinks, is
menekan global
mostly
yang
to
tingkat
blame for
obesitas yang
rising global
WHO
obesity
mengatakan
rates. The
39%
WHO says
dari orang
39%
dewasa
of the
planet
planet's adults
kelebihan
were
berat
overweight in
badan
2014,
pada
and
tahun
that a new tax on
2014, dan
sugary
kemudian
drinks would
pada pajak
prevent
dari
obesity
minuman
and
manis
diabetes
akan
and
mencegah
cut
obesitas
healthcare
dan
costs.
diabetes,
But
dan
would higher
perawatan
prices
kesehatan
mean
dipotong
lower
biaya tetapi
calorie
akan
choices
menyewa
when
harga
people
berat
want
kalori
something to
yang lebih
drink?
rendah.
That seems to
Pilihan
be
ketika
true
orang
in some
ingin
places,
sesuatu yang
like the
diminum
city of Berkeley, California.
yang
A
tampaknya benar di
voter-approved
beberapa
tax
tempat
there
seperti kota
reportedly
Berkeley,
led to a
California, banyak
21%
pemilih yang
drop
sudah
in
setuju.
the consumption
Mereka
of sugary
dilaporkan menyebabkan
beverages.
penurunan
But results
21%
haven't been the
dalam
same
konsumsi
everywhere. The
minuman
nation of
manis yang hasil
Mexico put a 10%
bangsa
tax on
Meksiko
sugary
menempatkan
drinks in
10%.
2013.
Pajak
And the Wall
atas
Street
minuman
Journal
manis
reports
pada
that those sales
2013 dan
decreased at
jurnal Wall
first.
Street
They
melaporkan
started
bahwa
rising
mereka
again recently.
penjualan menurun
The
pada
U.S.
awalnya
beverage
mereka
industry
mulai naik
says
lagi
that the
baru-baru
Mexican
ini.
tax
AS
put
Minuman
a burden
Industri
on those who
mengatakan
could
bahwa
least
pajak
afford
Meksiko
it,
menempatkan
and that it caused thousands
bebas
of
mereka
jobs
yang
to be
pilih
lost
mereka mampu
in
dan bahwa
Mexico's
itu
soft drink
menyebabkan
industry.
ribuan pekerjaan untuk
Up
hilang
next,
dalam
science
industri
and
minuman dengan
agriculture.
Meksiko.
Some
Apa
researchers
ilmu
are
berikut
looking
yang
beyond
dilakukan?
pesticides,
Beberapa
beyond
peneliti
genetically
mencari di luar
modified
pestisida
seeds.
di luar
Instead,
pestisida
they're
kerja.
literally
Biji
coating
bukannya
seeds
mereka
with
belum
bacteria
benar
in the
coding
pursuit
minum.
of growing more crops and better
Kemudian
crops. The process
mikrob
is
percaya
still being
mereka masa
tested.
depan
It's
pertanyaan
not
bagaimana
definitively
kita
proven to
makan
work. There are still
apa yang
questions about
diperkirakan.
safety for consumers. But one of the companies testing
Orang
microbiomes
pada tahun
believes they're the
2050
future of
untuk sampai
agriculture.
ke sana kita
How are
perlu
we going to
untuk
feed
meningkatkan
what is
arus kami
estimated to be
produktivitas
10
dengan
billion
sekitar
people
70%
by
kemampuan
2050?
untuk mencapai
To
itu
get
dengan
there, we
saat
need
ini
to
kami
increase our
tarik di
current
dan
productivity
genetik
by
dan
about
hasil
70%.
perbaikan tidak dapat
The
dicapai
ability
dengan
to
begitu
achieve that
kita
with our
perlu
current
mencari
rates of
cara-cara baru
genetic gain and
kami
yield
juga perlu
improvement are not achievable.
melakukan dengan
And
cara
so we need to
berkelanjutan
look for new
selama
ways. We
beberapa
also
dekade
need to do it
inovasi
in a
dalam
way that's
pertanian
sustainable.
telah memungkinkan
For
pasukan makanan
decades,
kita
innovations in
untuk
agriculture
pertumbuhan
have allowed our
produktif.
food supply to keep
Apabila
pace with
teknologi yang
population
memiliki
growth.
menaikkan
But at what cost?
perbaikan yang telah
The
kita lihat di
technologies
dalam
that have
umumnya
given
hal-hal
rise to
seperti
the
pertanian
productivity
kimia,
improvements we've
pupuk,
seen in
yang bisa
agriculture
dibilang
are
tidak
generally
baik
things
bagi
like
kita dan baik untuk
agricultural
planet ini.
chemicals,
Bagaimana
chemical
jika ada
fertilizers,
cara yang
things
lebih
that
baik secara
arguably aren't good for us and
disebutkan
aren't good
juga
for the
mencoba
planet.
untuk lebih
What if there was
produktif,
a better way?
cara
A
yang lebih aman
startup
untuk
called
bercocok
Indigo
tanam
is attempting
tanpa
to create a
pertanian.
more
Bahan kimia
productive
metode
and more
yang bisa
natural way to
mengevaluasi
grow
industri.
crops without
Kita
the
mencoba untuk
agricultural
memecahkan masalah
chemicals,
itu
a method
dengan
that could
memanfaatkan
revolutionize the
tanaman
industry.
mikroba alami.
We attempt to
Mikroba
solve
yang
that
berkembang
problem
selama ribuan
by
tahun
harnessing
benar-benar untuk
the
meningkatkan
plant's
kesehatan
natural
tanaman.
microbiome,
Apakah
the
mikroba berhasil
microbes
dengan
that
baik?
evolved
Di
over
manusia,
millennia
mikroba
really
adalah
to
komunitas
improve the health of
mikroorganisme
plants.
yang mencakup
What
bakteri
is a
alami
microbiome
dalam
exactly?
di tubuh kita
Well,
bahkan
in
tidak
humans, the
jahat, tapi
microbiome is a
juga
community
bakteri
of
baik yang
microorganisms that
membantu
includes the
dengan
bacteria
penting fungsi
naturally
seperti
occurring
pencernaan
in
dan
and on our
produksi
bodies,
dasar.
the bad
Dari
bacteria,
apa yang
but
kita
also
lakukan
the
di Indigo
good
adalah
bacteria
kesadaran
that help
bahwa
with
yang sama
important
konsep
functions like
yang
digestion
benar.
and
Dan tanaman
reproduction.
mereka
The
yang
basis
sama
of what we do
mikroba
at Indigo
bermanfaat
is a
berangkat
realization
dan
that
tanaman
same
dan sampai saat
concept is true
ini
in plants.
tidak sepenuhnya
Those
mengapa
same beneficial
mengerti,
microbes
tapi
live in
cepat
and on
berkembang. Teknologi
plants,
seperti
and until
sequencing
recently
dan bagaimana
weren't fully
ilmuwan
understood.
diizinkan untuk
But
mewujudkan
rapidly developing
potensi
technologies
mikroba
like
ini.
gene sequencing
Tanaman
have allowed
menurut
scientists to
Indigo
realize
mikroba
the full
bisa
potential of the
menjadi
plant
kunci untuk
microbiome.
tumbuh alam super
According to
tanaman.
Indigo,
Kita sudah
the
benar-benar teruji
microbiome
di
could
semua
be the
kondisi
key to
iklim
growing natural
yang berbeda dan
supercrops.
kami konsisten
We've actually
CA 10
tested
ditambah
in
persen
all
yield.
different climate conditions,
Manfaat
and we
meningkat
consistently
10%
see a
akan
10
satu
plus percent
dekade
yield
lompatan.
benefit. A
Maju
10%
dalam
increase
hal
would be a whole
produktivitas
decade
inovasi
leap
yang kami
forward in
telah
terms of
memiliki
productivity.
yang
The
mendapatkan kita
innovations
untuk
that we've
sekarang
had
kelak
that
dan
have gotten
benar
us to
penting
now
tanpa
have been really
mereka
important.
inovasi
Without those
kita tidak
innovations,
akan
we wouldn't
mampu
have been able to feed
untuk
the
memberi
last
makan
billion.
miliar orang
We can now do
terakhir
better,
yang
and
kami
I
bisa
think
sekarang
the future
lebih
of
baik
agriculture
dan
will
saya
look
pikir
back
di
and
masa
think
depan
about the times when we
sekarang
put
lebih baik dan
insecticides on
masa
hundreds
depan
of millions
kalian
of
akan melihat
neighbors
di
and
belakang dan
thank
berpikir
goodness we don't have to do that.
kita menempatkan taksi dapat.
Officials in Little Rock,
Jembatan
Arkansas
struktural
called their
kurang ini
city's
adalah
Broadway
bagaimana
Bridge
mendapat luka
structurally
balas dendam
deficient. This
kepada
is how it
meledak
got
jembatan
revenge.
biaya dan 93 tahun tidak bisa membawa ke bawah
Cuts to
pejabat
the bridge,
yang bekerja untuk
explosive
menggantikan
charges,
struktur,
and
tapi mereka membutuhkan
93
untuk
years of
menghapus
age
bersama
could not
itu
bring it
6
down.
upaya lebih menarik
Officials are
jembatan
working to
dengan
replace the
kabel
structure,
dari
but they
ke
needed
kapal
to
ke darat.
remove it
Sebelumnya
first.
baja akhirnya
It took
datang
6
menjenjang
more
turun.
attempts. pulling the
membuat
bridge
Anda
with
bertanya-tanya
cables from
mengapa
2
mereka tidak membuat
towboats
semua
before
jembatan
the
ini
steel
solid.
finally came
Setelah
crashing
semuanya
down.
kelak,
Makes you wonder why
kekuatan
they don't make
membentang
all
BKD semua
bridges
itu
this
waktu
tough.
itu bisa
After
dipercaya.
all, its strength
Meskipun
spanned decades. All
gravitasi
that time
adalah
it could
musuh
be
besar yang
trusted.
muncul dari
Even though
ledakan dan
gravity
cepat
was its
menyatakan
arch enemy, it
causeway
took blasts and
untuk
boats to
memberi
cause the
jalan.
causeway to
Dan
give
semua
way, and all
benar-benar
that actually
terjadi dalam
happened over several
beberapa jam.
hours. You just
Anda
saw
hanya
the
bisa
abridged
melihat.
version. I'm
Saya,
Carl Azuz. We're
Carol
back
Dios,
tomorrow.
kembali besok.